All right, Phil, let's jump on over to Wednesday night to AEW Dynamite. Oh, wait, sorry. I should have taken away from you. Please, introduce.
AEW.
There we go. And like we do before, just give our initial takes from the show, and then we'll break down some of the highlights. So, initial thoughts for this week's episode of AEW Dynamite.
It was okay. I think I enjoyed last week's episode a little bit more. Just from everything that happened there, but it was fine. They still beat NXT in the ratings, so
yeah. And even was it last week they beat Monday Night Raw in the over demographic as well, the demo ratings as well. So Dynamite's game, dude, they're doing big things from a rating standpoint, demo standpoint. So once again, proving why Chris Jericho, our buddy, Le Champion, is the demo god. So very cool. And yeah, I'm with you. I felt like this episode of AEW Dynamite, there were some great like little Easter eggs, some great storytelling, bullet points. But overall, the show felt just a tad off again. And I kind of noticed like every other week, Dynamite is really good. And then the following week, it's like flat in some areas. Following week, it's really good and flat in some areas. So I wonder if it has to do with, because we know that they film 2 episodes every other week. This week's episode, I think, was done live this week, and then they filmed or taped for next week's episode. So I anticipate next week's episode is going to be really good. So I think when they are able to tape it and kind of edit it, do a little sweetening, either with the crowd noise or whatever, the cutting of the different angles, I don't know. So I anticipate next week's episode of Dynamite's going to be really good, but I kind of noticed that. So if anyone else knows, please let us know if you think it's like every other week, it's like really good and then a little off. It's kind of a weird alternation right there. But like I said, it's moving a lot of storylines along to build up for All Out. Like we said, we're on the road to All Out now. And that opening match, the Young Bucks beat up on the Dark Order, Stu Grayson and Evil Uno. So your thoughts on just the opening match segment there?
First of all, join darkorder.com. I honestly, dude, I caught like the flip off of the stage and then like a little bit of the end, so I didn't see the whole thing. But so I can't really give my my full thoughts on that. So I'm gonna have to throw it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Young Bucks are one of the greatest tag teams of all time, so they go out there and they're gonna do the thing. And listen, I'm not completely on board with the Dark Order. And even Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, they're okay. But they do have pretty good chemistry with the Young Bucks because they go back to, I believe, to the Indies and PWG days. So they do have some natural chemistry there. Like I said, when Dark Order on TV, I'm like, I'm like kind of hit or miss as far as do I care about them or not. So it was a solid opening match just to get the ball rolling for the night. And then the next segment, we saw MJF cut an amazing promo again in the ring, just continue his campaign.
I didn't like it as much as the first one, and Brandon, my co-host for the Bulletcast, he didn't like this at all. He thought it was too cute.
Too cute? Really? How so?
Yeah, with MJF saying, I know you don't like to talk to people who won't lay down and look at the lights for you, so I'll do it right here, right now. And then him just cutting the promo, laying down. I'm like, yeah, we know kayfabe is dead.
Yeah,
but it was just like a complete, or we're throwing it completely out of the window. We're breaking all the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th wall.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is before they went to commercials, they saw MJF walking down the hallway and he pushed that one guy against the wall. Little callback, I guess when Samoa Joe was NXT champion, he was walking down the hall and he pushed MJF, who was working that night as security, as a hired gun that night for WWE. He pushed him against the wall, so it's definitely a good callback there. And I saw on Instagram some people were doing a side-by-side video comparison of the two. Yeah, I mean, they're building up once again the matchup for Jon Moxley and the AEW World Championship for All Out. Let me ask you this. Do you think this is the right time for MJF to be getting a title shot?
If not now, when?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I guess maybe because I just feel a little sudden because they're like, oh yeah, he's getting a title shot, but also Moxley's busy with Darby Allin. So it's like Jon Moxley has all these guys coming at him right now for the championship. I'm so used to just one person at a time. Take care of business with that one person, then move on to the next competitor. But yeah, so we got the promo here. Moxley's music hits, and we all assume he was going to come out through up and through the crowd or slash the stands, and so MJF sends Wardlow and the rest of his crew out there to go fight him off, but Moxley outsmarted everyone and pulled a fast one and came out through just a regular entrance ramp and comes to the ring and beats up on MJF because no one else is in there. Lays a paradigm shift on him, lays him out, and so Moxley got one over on MJF. So loved it as far as building up more heat between the two for All Out. So it's gonna be interesting. Like, I know it's a couple weeks away. Do you think MJF really has a shot to win the championship?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah, man. Look, I believe in Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
This championship, the one in my hands right now.
Yes, absolutely. He has a chance.
That I bought at my local Walmart.
Thursday after my Bulletcast recording, I went out and put up flyers, handed out buttons. We can't kiss babies, COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing everything we can to get Maxwell to the championship.
Okay. I'm actually looking forward to that main event between the two of them. And I actually have a feeling, MJF might pull it off here and get an upset and take the victory and become the third ever AEW World Champion. But let's see how it progresses more on the next few episodes of AEW Dynamite. Which, by the way, we should just point out, next week, Dynamite, they made an announcement, is going to be moving to just for next week only, next Saturday. So next Wednesday, Dynamite is not going to be on its regular scheduled night and time because of an NBA game. So it's being just postponed a few days to next Saturday, August 22nd at, I think it's at 6 p.m. Eastern, so 3 o'clock for us here on the West Coast, which, of course, starts an hour early before TakeOver that night, NXT TakeOver 30. So if it's not Wednesday Night War, they're moving up to the weekends now, Saturday Night War. So it's going to be interesting. I'll do my best to watch Dynamite first for an hour, then watch TakeOver, and then maybe finish up Dynamite afterwards and try to do reviews for both of that right after. So I'm trying to figure out the schedule for next week. It's going to be all over the place. So please stick with us. And next up, we saw the big TNT Championship match, Open Challenge, Cody Rhodes taking on Scorpio Sky. And a couple things here. So one, we saw beforehand, Mike Chioda was out reffing this match.
I have never popped that hard for a referee ever in my life. I was like, it's Chioda!
He's got a job again, and as JR said, he's been working on his tan. I guess being unemployed, he was outside a lot.
Absolutely, man. I'm so happy to see Mike Chioda.
Yes.
He's doing the damn thing.
Me too. I love Mike Chioda. He's one of the greats. And as we saw, it was all reported on social media earlier today, but Cody Rhodes came walking out with an updated design or new design, I guess whatever you want to call it, of the TNT Championship. And so, Philip, you and I earlier that day was exchanging photos of the new design, updated design for the TNT Championship. So your thoughts on, quote, the finished product of the TNT Championship?
Oh, as I texted you, I said that looks effing beautiful. My only qualm with it, the major TNT logo is too bright.
Okay.
Because like when Cody was standing up like on the ropes with it, I'm like, if they was just like toned down a little bit, I think it would have been absolutely perfect. There's some people that say it still looks ugly. I'm like, did you guys see Tommy Dreamer's license plate hardcore title? Get out of my face. You know what I mean? Like it's fine. This is the only red strap title I like. Be honest with you. Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, I'm with you as far as like I've said before, I like circular belts. I'm not a fan of like some of these other belts where they have like weird, odd shapes. I like that circular. It's not as big as the AEW World Championship, which, like I said, the one I'm holding right here, the one I currently possess in my hands. But which is fine because it's a second tier title, so it's not going to be as big as the World Championship. The red strap, I'm still on the fence. Like, I like that it's different. As far as the red strap, I'm kind of curious what it will look like with the just, your traditional black strap. I do like it's gold now, so they got rid of all the silver plating, and it's pretty much the same design, but now gold plates on it, which made me wonder, okay, if they're able to get it finished now, why couldn't they get it finished a while back? That's probably going to be one of the greatest mysteries. Maybe one day if Cody does like a shoot interview, he'll maybe explain what really happened with that championship. I still have a feeling the first version of the TNT Championship was the original plan all along, but they saw the backlash from social media, everyone hating on it. They were like, crap, we got to fix this fast and make it better and get some gold plates on there, which I think is for the better. Gold plates, it's a championship. It needs gold on there. That's the ultimate significance, showing that you won the big prize.
I will say this. The only time a silver-plated title has worked, I enjoyed the WWE Silver Plate ECW title.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, though, like this championship, I'm with you as far as it looks very clean. I'll give it that. But I guess the middle part where it says TNT and it's got the plating around it, the plating, it's so shiny. It looks like a mirror, like the reflection on it. It's so clean. I kind of wish maybe they had a little more layers to it, or the kind of the texture. I don't know if some people were saying they should put like a globe under it or something. So it's like, it represents like Earth or something like that. It still looks very blank or bare in the middle. So that's my one little thing. But I think it's light years better right now than it did previously. But, I'm not going to get totally caught up on it. I'll be kind of curious how long they'll keep the design for before they change it up again. Which apparently, by the way, the red strap was apparently Tony Khan's idea. He was a big fan of the NWA Television Championship and how for a period had a red strap. So that's why he wanted it red. So, like I said, much better now. And so for the match itself, Cody Rhodes, big victory here over Scorpio Sky. What were your takeaways from this match?
He was fine. I like Sky's entrance. He's kicking down the door because that's what he said he was going to do. Do these kind of title defenses kind of feel the same to you by now?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
It was like, okay, hits a crossroads, they kicked out, they keep going for a little bit, and then he hits another one, and they get the job done.
Yeah, as far as, because they said, this was his 8th title defense for the TNT Championship. This one, I was the build for, or I was most excited for, just because Scorpio Sky, he's been there since day one, and he, as you and I, we're both big fans of him. We both predict he should be a world champion down the road some point. And for anyone who doesn't watch AEW Dark, unfortunately, I don't watch it regularly, but from what I've been hearing, he's been on a very much of a tear over there, winning a lot of matches. And he cut an amazing promo saying, listen, I should not be on AEW Dark. I should be on Dynamite every week wrestling. Look at me. I'm getting all these victories. I deserve a title shot now. So from his standpoint, he is justifying his position. And I totally believe him. And he deserves it. So I thought, with that being said, he was going to give Cody Rhodes his biggest challenge to date so far, especially for that TNT Championship. So the fact that this match didn't go as long as I thought it was going to go, that was a little bit underwhelming. And I didn't necessarily think that he was going to win here, but I thought if Scorpio was going to lose, he was going to look really strong in defeat. So I really thought Cody was going to, from a character standpoint, and I think I mentioned this last week, was like he was going to go to a little bit more of a dark side to get that victory, because he knows Scorpio Sky is going to give it his all, and he's one of the best on that roster. So this would probably be his biggest challenge to date. And so I thought Cody was going to maybe cheat or just use some tactics that we're not used to see from him as one of the top baby faces, and maybe begin that slow process of a heel turn that everyone thinks Cody's going to eventually do at some point. So the fact that we didn't see any of that, it was a little bit just of a disappointment. The match was still very good, very athletic, told a good story as far as, Cody having to use multiple crossroads on Scorpio Sky. But I said it was a little bit of a bummer. I thought it could have been a really good match. I like how Cody makes his matches feel big when he brings out the Nightmare family with him, creates that big fight vibe. But nonetheless, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get more character building for maybe either one of them. So I don't know. We shall wait and see with that. And I guess one of the other big takeaways from the match was after he won, we saw Brody Lee appear on the jumbo screen with holding up the other version, the previous version of the TNT Championship. And he pretty much called him out and challenged him for a match next Saturday on the Saturday night special version of AEW Dynamite. So it's going to be Brody Lee challenging Cody Rhodes for that championship. So your thought on that matchup?
Is Brody Lee is he the guy to take it off of Cody? He lost this opportunity at the AEW World Title. So then, if he loses this one, then where does he go from here?
That's true. I'm with you. But then
I did say last week that him and Colt win the tag titles.
ooh, that still can very much happen. I mean, there's a lot of different possibilities that they're building up right now. I will say this: I think Brody definitely needs probably like some sort of title win to kind of justify him as the leader of this cult, or group, whatever you want to call it. So.
It's not a cult; it's a movement. It's a revolution.
Yes.
It's a way of life,
Yes,
bro.
But what I'm getting at is, I think. When he lost to Moxley, he lost a little bit of his momentum, so they're kind of building back up. And I like what they've been doing with him now. He's been less focused on trying to just act like Vince McMahon, or allegedly a lot of his mannerisms were based on Vince McMahon. He's just kind of being more of himself now and just creating his own character and just evolving with that. But yeah, it'd be interesting because, and this is something Richard brought up in the past, like, We've seen this time and time again as far as guys who want to be like the workhorses of their company and they defend their championship every week on TV. Cody Rhodes is doing it right now, TNT Championship on Dynamite. Eddie Edwards is doing it with the Impact Championship on Impact Wrestling. We've seen it, with John Cena and stuff like that, the Open Challenge. I like those at first, but I think they have a burnout factor over a few weeks because it becomes kind of, I think, stale fast. Like, sure, the champion comes out, has an open challenge, and wrestles whoever, and someone comes out, they wrestle, and they win. And so after like 3 or 4 weeks, it becomes kind of predictable that the champion, sure, he has a match this week again, but it's most likely he's going to win. So it becomes less unpredictable. Sure, occasionally we'll get these surprises like we've been seeing with Cody. He had Warhorse wrestle him. He had, Ricky Starks came out one night. So you are getting these surprise competitors who maybe not necessarily with the AEW roster. That's cool and exciting and all. But I think these week-to-week open challenges, like I said, there's a burnout factor on them. And my thing is, if you're going to do that, and Richard brought this up in the past, those type of championships or scenarios, you got to lose the title as well on regular TV. You can't lose it at a pay-per-view because then that's another layer that adds to the championship as far as, okay, if this title's being defended on weekly television, we know it's not going to change hands. It only changes hands at pay-per-view. So to kind of add more of that element of surprise, you got to lose it eventually on just a regular episode of the weekly television show, in this case, Dynamite. So that's what I'm getting at. It'd be interesting to see if Brody Lee can pull it off next Saturday, if he can get a victory over Cody and get the championship off him, and therefore be on a regular episode of TNT on AEW Dynamite instead of a pay-per-view. Philip, what are your thoughts on that? You think that kind of is it's a better storyline for the championship?
Yeah, and also, if Cody's defending it every week, there needs to be a little wear and tear, come out with a taped elbow, come out with a taped up shoulder, so like put that tape or whatever on your shoulder or something. Like, there needs to start being a wear and tear, and like, oh, can he do it this week? And then he retains for like a couple weeks, and then somebody you least expect, boom, they're the champion.
Yeah, but it needs to happen on weekly television. That way it just maintains that element of surprise. That way it doesn't become as predictable, and therefore it makes must-see TV to watch that championship being defended on the weekly television, because then you're like, oh, okay, this might actually change hands tonight, and not be the obvious, oh, it only changes hand on a pay-per-view. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next Saturday. Let's kind of skim through the rest of this pretty quickly here. So we saw the tag champions, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, take on Jurassic Express. They got a victory there. It was an okay match. It felt a little off as well. I don't know. It's interesting. Like, Jurassic Express, they usually go out there and do a really good job. But yeah, this match just felt a little off to me. Anything you want to add to that match?
It happened.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
Next up was probably maybe my favorite segment of the night. It was the Tag Team Appreciation segment, which they announced last week. This was going to be Tag Team Appreciation Night. So we saw FTR along with Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard come out. We saw the Young Bucks and the Rock and Roll Express also come out there. The first half of this whole segment, I thought was a little, it was getting kind of long-winded as far as the Young Bucks, kissing Rock and Roll Express's ass and how much they mean to them. FTR kissing Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard's butts, and just kind of praising them, how much they mean to them, blah, 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 blah. Finally, the MVP of this segment was Tully Blanchard, grabbed the microphone and said, "Look at you both, FTR, Young Bucks. I don't see no championships around your waist, so neither one of you are the greatest right now." So I love, he was like calling them out on their S and saying, "You guys act like you're all these great things. You haven't done anything in this company yet." So I thought it was awesome. And then we saw Ricky Morton slap Tully Blanchard in the face, and a little bit of a scuffle going on. So I love that. So what are your thoughts on that segment?
That was cool. Tully talked to Arn. He was like, "You know what? I don't understand this right here. The Nightmare family symbol or whatever." Nice to see Shawn Spears come out there and take Tully away. And then when FTR attacks the Rock and Roll Express, so I think we're leading to a match with those guys. Because remember, in the year of our Lord 2020, the Rock and Roll Express were the NWA Tag Team Champions.
Yes, that is true.
And last October, we watched them tear it up at an APW. Yeah.
That was a fun night. That was a good night. That was good meeting them too that night. That was very cool. I will say this, couple things just to add to that. So yeah, Tully Blanchard, awesome. Dude, still just talking a great game, calling them all out. Ricky Morton, the guy could still go, as you said. I mean, they still wrestle in the indies. They were wrestling for NWA Power, were the champions for a minute. And dude, like, this was a great segment as far as adding or finally revealing that FTR are heels, or they finally did their heel turn, and they did the combo pile driver on Ricky Morton. Good Night Express. But dude, Ricky Morton went flying upward after, and his long white hair went flowing. I started like laughing. I was like, "Oh my god, he took that like a champ!" And but also, yeah, Tully calling out Arn Anderson. It's like, "Why are you wearing that, the Nightmare Family logo?" And he also said, "Listen, I didn't forget what you did to me last year when he was the spine buster on him. What was it, All Out? Or no, sorry, Double or Nothing last year?"
No, it was All Out, and he did it to Shawn Spears.
That's right. Yeah. So,
he cost this guy to win.
That's right. Yeah. So, dude, good long-term storytelling right there. But I wish what Arn Anderson or Tully would have said, "Listen, like," he just pointed to the logo, but he didn't kind of clarify why is he upset. And for the younger fans, they might not know that the Four Horsemen versus Dusty Rhodes is one of the greatest rivalries of all time in the 80s. So it makes sense for Tully to be upset at Arn's. Like, why are you wearing Dusty Rhodes' son's logo on you? Or why even working with Dusty Rhodes' kid? So I wish they would have added that, or Tully would have added that line, just to kind of explain why is he upset and pointed at that symbol. So that's something I just think, just in case not all wrestling fans know every single major storyline from all the different decades in pro wrestling. So just to kind of clarify, I wish they would have done that, or Tully would have explained that. But no, that segment itself, I will admit, okay, Shawn Spears, like, he was walking super slow to the ring, because when Arn left, he looked over and saw Shawn Spears walking. He had time to look over, drop the microphone, and get out of the ring before Shawn Spears came out to the ring. So, like, Shawn Spears is probably still walking to the ring right now. I feel like, I know part of his new gimmick, he likes to walk slow. Like, we see him at APW walking slow to the ring. I'm like, speed it up, man. Like, that's what kind of drives me nuts. It's like, dude, your guy Tully is getting a beat down or getting smacked. Like, get in there, run in there and help out. So, anyway, that's my one little thing. But overall, good segment. Like I said, the first half was a little slow, but the second half really made up for it. So, it's awesome. So, are we going to get to see Young Bucks and FTR at All Out now?
Possibly. I would think so, man.
Yeah.
And, we're going to get the Rock and Roll Express and FTR. What am I talking about? Yeah, dude.
They can still go, dude.
Gibson's going to take the Good Night Express this time.
We can keep adding to it. So, and it's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how this storyline moves along as well. Real quick, we saw Hikaru Shida, the AEW World Champion, in a match against Heather Monroe. We've seen Heather Monroe wrestle here in the Bay Area. I think she's from, Southern California. Does a lot of work with the United Wrestling Network and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. She wrestles a lot for also, I think, Hood Slam and West Coast Pro Wrestling. Also has done some stuff with APW. So it was cool to see her get her debut here. A little bit of a quick squash match. Shida cool getting the victory. I'm still a little bummed. We're just a couple weeks away from All Out, and Shida doesn't have a major storyline or opponent set up yet for All Out. So hopefully they can turn it around quickly and get her an opponent lineup for All Out. So that's my one concern, especially for a long time now. We've been complaining that the women's division needs a lot of work, so they got to give Shida something quick here. And last but not least was the main event: Orange Cassidy taking on our buddy Le Champion Chris Jericho in their second match against each other. And also, what was it called? The $7,000
obligation match. If Cassidy lost, he would have to pay up. Yeah, man. So this happened, and I've heard criticisms on. I would listen to Cheap Heat with Peter Rosenberg and his co-host that guy Greg. I said criticisms of Jericho, his in-ring work, and I'm like, bro, he's 50.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
he's 50, and like it. I think this was the first time where I really noticed it. It has slowed down. Mm-hmm. But I mean. That's just the thing, when the in-ring work slows down, the character gets taken up a notch, and that's what Jericho has always been able to do, and just an amazing character. And, the pin was kind of slops, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the match was good. It wasn't as good, I think, as their first match against each other, but it was good for a television main event. And Orange Cassidy, I like that coming out right at the beginning of the match was pretty intense and like not being super lazy. He was like going at it, and we saw Mike Chioda reffing this match again. And then the backstage interview with Jericho, he told Mike Chioda, like, hey, remember what in the early 2000s I helped save your job, and so tonight you're gonna do the right thing and like make sure I win. And Chioda's like, no, I'm gonna call it down the line evenly. He's like, all right, wink, wink. Yeah, but you're going to do the right thing tonight. Make sure I win. And so I like that. It's just acknowledging that their long history, knowing each other in the business, and obviously both in WWE and whatnot. And the main event itself, like I said, it was a good match, but I'm with you. So Orange Cassidy picked up the victory here. It was a little sloppy, and his finish was the mousetrap, and Taz called it on commentary, so I'm glad he called that to clarify to anyone who doesn't know. And I was reading up on it. Orange Cassidy on the indies used that move a lot, and so that was his finisher, the mousetrap. And shout out to, I think it was Wrestling Inc. I saw they had an article kind of explaining about that move, and I guess because Chris Jericho was responding to some tweets that people were saying he botched the finish. And he says, no, Jericho said, no, the finish went accordingly as planned. So the mousetrap, and so Wrestling Inc. explained what it was. The mousetrap, and they showed how it's supposed to be done. Whoever is taking the move, they're supposed to fall forward and land on their knees, and then therefore the opponent can roll them up. Jericho, as we saw, he fell on his back, so he fell in the opposite direction. So that's why when Orange Cassidy tried doing the mousetrap and Jericho just fell on his back, Orange Cassidy ultimately just flipped over and just laid on him for the pin, and therefore it didn't look as smooth and it looked a little sloppy and botched there. So for anyone out there, I might try to maybe share the link later, or because you go to Wrestling Inc.'s website, they explain and break it down how it's supposed to work, and they show an example video. So when you get the mousetrap, you're supposed to land on your knees, fall forward, and then your opponent can roll you up from there. So not the most clean finish, but once again, Orange Cassidy, big victory here, and arguably his biggest victory currently in AEW Dynamite or AEW history. So, doesn't have to pay Chris Jericho $7,000, and I don't know where they go from here. Do they have a third and final encounter at All Out?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. As I look up a video of how to do the mousetrap, shout out to the Octopus King, Jonathan Grisham.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. Is that the one, Ring of Honor or something looks like?
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the video.
That's dope. I like that.
But you see how the opponent's supposed to fall forward on their knees, and then he can roll them up right after. And we saw Jericho fell the opposite direction, and therefore that's why it looked like Orange Cassidy just flopped on top of him. So,
you know,
he got the win.
It is what it is, baby. It is what it is.
Yeah. They made it work. So Orange Cassidy, congrats to him. Big victory over Chris Jericho. And yeah, so do they go on their separate paths at this point? Does Orange Cassidy help Best Friends as they take on Santana and Ortiz? Or Or do we get Inner Circle versus Best Friends at All Out? I don't know. So that's going to be interesting to see. But nonetheless, overall, solid, entertaining show from AEW Dynamite, and looking forward to next week's episode. Not on Wednesday. It's going to be next Saturday. And to make up for it, I think they're going to air part 1 of last year's All Out on AEW's YouTube channel during its normal Wednesday time slot. So if you turn on TNT and you see NBA basketball going on, it's the playoffs. And you're like, hey, where's my AEW fix for the night? Go to their YouTube channel and they'll have part 1 of last year's All Out to watch. So you can get some AEW on Wednesday night. But then make sure to tune in next Saturday and we'll do a review for that as well.